Hi there, Genki desu. So, I'd like to give some insight into Team Asobi. On April 1st, 2021, PlayStation announced that they were closing down Japan Studio and only left behind Team Asobi. Japan Studio was formed in 1993, shortly after the formation of the original PlayStation division within Sony. It has a long history of creating Japan-centric games for PlayStation. Games like Parappa the Rapper. Japan Studio worked on many different games, working with external developers to create new IP for Sony. The main internal teams were Team Ico, who were led by Fumito Ueda, the creator of games such as Ico, Shadow of the Colossus, and The Last Guardian. Another of their main teams was called Project SIREN, or also Team Gravity. They created games like SIREN for PlayStation, and then later Gravity Rush for the Vita, and then PlayStation 4. But as PlayStation went on, their focus on Japan shifted more and more towards the West, culminating in April of last year, where PlayStation announced the closure of Japan Studio, one of its oldest studios. Most of Japan Studio's staff were let go. Only the small group that was Team Asobi remained. At the time, Team Asobi was around 30 people at that time. Japan Studio went from hundreds of staff to a team of around 30 people in Team Asobi. So many of the staff were let go and not transitioned into Team Asobi. A lot of the staff went on to other studios and went on to create their own studios as well. Ueda-san, the creator of Ico, Shadow of the Colossus, and The Last Guardian, moved on to create his own studio, Gen Design, and are now working with Epic Games to create a new game. Keiichiro Toyama, who was the leader of Project SIREN or Team Gravity, who worked on games such as SIREN and Gravity Rush, went on to create his own studio, Bokeh Studios, and they're working on a new horror type game called Slitherhead. So let's talk about Team Asobi. So to start off, we have to talk about the studio director, Nicolas Duché. Nicolas Duché was born in France and has a history of working in the video game industry in London. He worked at such companies as Lego before he moved to the UK PlayStation London studio, where he worked on games such as iToy as a producer. After that, he transferred over to Japan to work with Japan PlayStation Studios, and later he helped from Team Asobi in 2012. The name Asobi also connects to Nicolas Duché's history of working with Lego. The word Lego is Danish for play well, and Nicolas Duché took some inspiration from the name of Lego to create the name for Team Asobi. Asobi in Japanese means to play, so we can see the connection there. So from there, the Team Asobi was built up as a R&D focused studio, mainly focused on creating R&D projects of PlayStation's new hardware, such as controllers, cameras, and VR. They started their first project working in 2013, working on the PlayStation game Playroom, which was an augmented reality game using the PlayStation camera for PlayStation 3. After that, they went on to work on VR titles such as the Playroom VR, where they created VR demos using the character Astro, and later they made a full VR game in Astro Bot Rescue Mission. They mainly work on games initially as tech demos, but then transition those things that they've learned from the tech demo into gameplay mechanics to create their own games, which was seen in Astro's Playroom in 2020, which came packaged in with the PlayStation 5 console. It's a great and amazingly fun game that shows off the capabilities of the DualSense controller for PlayStation 5. It's a super fun experience. I really recommend you play the game if you can get hold of a PlayStation 5. So I want to talk about the team at Team Asobi. Team Asobi is led by Nicolas Duché, who is originally from France, and a lot of their main leaders are Westerners, such as the art director Sebastian Brechner, who previously worked at Studio Liverpool on games like Wipeout and Motorstorm. We also have the animation director Jamie Smith, who has a history working at Japan Studio on games like Ico and The Last Guardian, and before that at Grasshopper Manufacturer with games like Lollipop Chainsaw. Apart from these three, most of the staff at Team Asobi are Japanese, and the studio communicate in both English and Japanese between all the main staff. So it really is an international mix, and they are really trying to promote a more Western work culture and work-life balance in the studio, centered on fun and enjoyment. They have 5 key values at the studio, which are magic, innovation, playfulness, universal, meaning the games shouldn't just be for Japan, but have a global appeal, and quality. And they are trying to make their work culture a fun and enjoyable place in order to create new games. At the moment they are 60 people, but are planning to increase staff to 80 people for their current project, and also to hire more people to work on new ideas and different R&D projects. In recent interviews they have said that they want to staff up to 100 people in total. We can really see some promising things coming from this Japanese studio, which started with 30 people but is growing up to 100 people. And it seems like Sony are giving them a limited budget to help them create the works they want to, and are trying to promote Astro as a main character and mascot for the PlayStation brand. Recently we've seen Astro appear in advertising for the PlayStation and Discord collaboration, and also in the teaser for the PlayStation Studios movies and entertainment spot. We can really see that PlayStation are trying to position Team Asobi into a strong pillar in their portfolio of games, this time focused on a more universal appeal, kind of like the Nintendo of Sony. That's what they're going for with their types of games. So no, they're not going to be Japan Studio 2.0. They're something completely different with a completely different focus. Japan Studio was focused on creating games for the Japanese market with Japanese tastes at the forefront. We've seen that in all of their games. But Team Asobi are a team focused on universal global appeal. They are led by Western thinking leaders with this universal appeal in mind. So no, they won't be creating Japan-centric games like what Japan Studio was doing. They will be creating more universal appealing games. Think of Lego, think of Nintendo, think of their universal appeal. That is what they are going for with Team Asobi. And as we've seen in their statement before, their next game will be a game that will focus on the single vision and building the popularity of Astro's Playroom. So their next game, in my opinion, will definitely be a PlayStation 5 platforming and action game that will be only on the PlayStation 5. It may have some VR elements included, but the game will mainly be a PlayStation 5 console game mainly. I really enjoyed Astro's Playroom on the PlayStation 5. It was super cute, imaginative and fun. I can't wait to see what they produce in their first full console only packaged game for the PlayStation 5. It should be super fun and super creative. I hope they continue to reference their past in terms of the old IP of Japan Studio and PlayStation, like in Astro's Playroom, and continue to expand on the ideas and great platforming action that was in Astro's Playroom. So I hope I could explain more about Team Asobi and what their goals are. It's a shame that Japan Studio was scaled down so much, but we have a bright spark in Team Asobi and the very fun and imaginative global appealing games that they will be creating. Personally, I can't wait for their next game, and I hope that PlayStation can continue to invest in Team Asobi and also in other areas in Japan to make up for the massive scale down in PlayStation first party Japanese development staff. At the end of the day, Japan Studio was not run as efficiently as it could be. It's a shame they didn't try to restructure or reorganize the studio to help fix it, but it's understandable due to how badly it was being run at the time. Hopefully I can make a video about this next time, talking about Japan Studio and also the not so great working conditions of Japanese game studios in Japan. Yeah, the work culture is not very good, but it is improving. It's just a shame that in this time when Japanese games and Japanese culture are growing so much in popularity that they had to close down Japan Studio. I hope they can make it up in other ways. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. じゃあね。